So hello everyone, welcome to this another video of this channel. I am Abhishek Verma and you are watching Spring Basics with Spring Boot series. In today's video, we are going to see how to implement aspect-oriented programming in our code. In the last video, we have seen why do we need AOP, what is AOP, and how to implement same but with the help of a deck, which means each and everything was discussed theoretically. But still, that video was important because we understood what are the various type of advices and how to write a point cut expression. In case you have not watched that video, I still request you to pause the video and watch that one first so that you don't find anything missing in this video. Now, without wasting any more time, let's directly get started with our code.
So now we are in the IDE, and as you can see, I have already copy pasted and made demo number 14. So as always, first of all, let's execute this demo and see whether the things are working fine or not as of now. And then we will start making the changes. So I'll just go here and execute this. So let me just scroll it up and see how it looks like. So on scrolling it up, you can see that currently no active profile is set. So the part of profiling I have removed from this particular thing, and currently it says that found owner with owner ID 100. So this is coming up here. Then post that, let's give it something like, let's say 11. And here you can see that we are getting the exception that it is unable to find the owner with owner ID 11. So that means the current code is that whenever we are going to start it, there is no profiling as of now. And in case if we are going to provide any odd ID, then it will throw the error. For the even IDs, this is going to work fine. And if I refresh it here, so you can see a logs folder is getting created, and there we are having the file as demo.log. So all these things are there. In case now if you are missing that, okay, what are profiles or how did you made these logs available here also, then it means you have not watched the previous videos, and hence you need to watch them first of all. Because you see here, I mean, it's simple. Currently we are on demo number 14. So if I will start showcasing or explaining each and everything in this video or demo itself, believe me, it is going to become very long, and you itself will get bored here. That's why every video is having one specific goal. In the last video, if you remember, the main goal was to understand AOP. And the goal of today's video is to implement AOP using code. So after watching this video, if you will say, Abhishek, you didn't explain the aspect very well. Okay, or first of all, you should have explained us a bit. So then I request you to pause the video and watch the previous ones. Now let's go here, and first of all we need to go to pom.xml. So the thing is that whenever you want to enable aspect oriented programming in your code, then we need to add a small dependency. So currently till now you see that in all our videos we were only making usage of Spring Boot starter here. Yeah, and this is the by default one which we are always getting from the Spring initializer. Now it's a time to add one more dependency so that we can get the benefits of aspect oriented programming. For this, first of all, let's go here, and here we are in the Spring initializer. Yeah, so currently when I'm making the video, the latest version is still 3.3.2. Now whenever you are adding any new dependency, so you need to take this care that, okay, what is the current version, how the things are there, whether it is Maven or Gradle. Don't choose Gradle here, otherwise you won't be able to copy paste. Okay, so always keep these things in mind. So let's go here and check for this aspect. So if I say here aspect, you see nothing is coming as of now. And similarly, if I say here AOP, then also nothing is coming. So the reason is that as of now, the aspect dependency, the aspect starter, AOP starter has been removed from the Spring initializer. So in previous versions, it used to be available here itself, but later on the developers of Spring thought that, okay, it is not beneficial to add it here. Maybe so many number of people were not using in their projects, hence they have removed it from here. But that doesn't mean that aspect is deprecated or it is something out of the box. Spring Boot is still supporting it, and Spring Boot itself is creating those aspects and everything. Yeah. The only thing which you need to now do is that instead of Spring initializer, we need to go to Maven repository. this is the place. If you remember when we used to work with the JDBC, when we used to work with the Hibernate playlist, at that time also, whenever required, I used to come here and add the dependency. Same we are going to do now also, and let's say AOP. So let me try if anything comes with AOP. So you see, I'm getting first of all two things. One is Spring AOP, other one is Spring Boot Starter AOP. So this first one is used when it is only your Spring application, which means you are not making usage of Spring Boot. Then we go for Spring AOP. But since ours is a Spring Boot application, hence we will be going with the Spring Boot Starter AOP. So we'll just go here and here we'll copy. So here you see that here also we are having different versions. So as a good practice, ensure that this version is same as your main Spring Boot version. So we'll click on this latest one and just click here so it will get copied. Now we'll go back to our code. Now we are going to paste the dependency here. So let's do the same thing. And here, let me just remove this comment also. I mean, I don't like these comments as such. Yeah, if you wish, you can still keep them with you. So this is how it is going to look like. Now you see that this version is same as my main version, which is 3.3.2 only. But as a good practice, what you can do is that you can remove the version from here. Okay, so if I just save it, then you see that currently it is building, which means it is trying to download these dependency. And the moment you save it, it is started showing you some this yellow kind of symbol, which says that you don't need to mention the version here explicitly. This Spring Boot will automatically take care. Since the parent version currently is 3.3.2, so automatically this also will be 3.3.2 only. If you will write, it is like you are overriding the things. Yeah. So we can remove it from here. So this is how the things are going to work here. Now you see that currently we are having two dependencies, Spring Boot Starter, and the other one is Spring Boot Starter AOP, which is aspect oriented programming. So let's simply save it. And now the next part is that we need to go here. So the next thing is, if you remember last time I told you that this time we need to create a log class or something like a separate class where we can have that logic. Because currently you see what my requirement is, that whenever control will come to this find owner method, at that time I want to log something before this line, and I want to log once this method is over, then I want to log something. So one option is I can just write the things here like we discussed in the last video. So one option is we can just write the lines here. But then if I need to do the same thing in multiple methods, it is going to be difficult for me. Another option is that I can auto wire the class here and then I can make usage of it. So what I have done is I have went here to this log aspect class. So I have already made the class as well as I have added these methods also. But as of now I have commented them. So you see this is a simple log aspect class and here we have added this logger. So again, how to add this logger I have shown in the separate logging video. Now let me uncomment these methods from this and I'll explain you all of them one by one. So this is how it is going to look like. And now since it is showing us some error, so let me just go here and say that we need to import it. And here also we need to import this. You must have seen these names, join point and proceeding join point in the previous video also in the deck. And you see they are coming from your aspect J. So this aspect J is a part of your this AOP dependency only. So the moment you add this AOP dependency, you can check here in dependency hierarchy. Let me just close this one. So the moment I add this AOP, at that time itself I will be getting this aspect J viewer. So hence you can get this particular one. In case it is not showing you this import, which means there is some mistake in adding the dependency. That's a simple clue here. So let's save it. Now you see there are no errors. Yeah, and everything is fine here. Now what I have done here is that I have made these methods. So this is a simple log before advice. Now I told you that this join point. So with the help of this join point kind of thing, you can get the signature and other things from the method before which this line will be invoked. Yeah, or before which this particular advice will be invoked here. And in this I have logged something like this, that entered, then it will provide you the signature of that particular method with arguments as. So you can also print what were the arguments. So this is how it is going to look like, the signature arguments. And still you can check out few more things from this, what all things are available. So kind, source location, and everything you can check it out here. Yeah, we are not going in that much detail. We will only cover the basic important part. Rest required you can always use, and you can always write as per your requirement. Now, what do you think? Will the logging work now or not? So currently I have added the dependency, so that has been done, and I have added these things here. So what do you think? Will these particular advices will be automatically invoked before this find owner or after or not? Okay, what do you feel? First of all, you can pause and comment me here. Now, what I feel is that currently this is not going to work. I mean, this is not going to impact anything. Why? Because you see, I haven't made it as an aspect. This is still a normal class. Yeah? Neither I have made it as an advice. This is still a normal method. So all these are normal methods only. I mean, what we are doing, we are just saying there is some join point from which you can get the signature, and then we are logging something. By which logic will they be invoked before or after any particular method? Yeah. So we need to do all those things. But first of all, let's just execute this. And this I always do. Whenever you are creating something new, as a good practice, what you guys need to do is that you need to keep on checking the things in between, whether it is working fine for you or not, so that at the end you don't get any surprises. So currently you see that still it is showing the same thing only. So there is default profile and nothing much has been logged. So this is still same, guys, which means this aspect is not coming into the picture as of now. So what we will do is, first of all, in order to make it as an aspect, we will say here as aspect like this. So here, let me write it as aspect, something like this, and let me say this one. So this one is also coming from your aspect J dependency. So from there itself you are getting this particular one. So now this is no more a normal class, and instead it became your aspect class. This is the number one thing. Now the next thing is, you remember that whenever we started learning Spring and Spring Boot, I told you something about beans. How do we create bean? So if you remember, one way of creating bean for a particular class was that you make a configuration class. Within that, you write the method and then you create a bean. Another option was that you go upon that particular class and you say @component, @service, @repository, and that way, whenever the component scanning will occur, the bean will be created. So on our service class, we used to say @service. On our repository class, something here, we are saying @repository. So for this, what should we say? First of all, let me clear you that only saying @aspect won't create a bean, because I told you this very initially only, that these beans are getting created because of the stereotype annotations. Under stereotype, we are currently having basically, you can say, 4 annotations only. The basic one is @component, then we have @repository, @service, @controller, and that's it. So only 4 annotations are there. So this aspect won't create a bean of it. So what do you say? Which annotation should we use here? Shall I call it as @repository? Then you will say, no Abhishek, here we are not having any repository related logic. So should I call it as @service? So you may say, yes, we can call it as @service, but my argument will be that here we are not having any business logic. Just imagine why we kept it outside the main class. Because we were saying it is a cross-cutting concern. This is not my main business logic of logging these lines and something, okay? This is just to help me out. So this is not even a service class. Then can I call it as controller? The answer is no. Controller is something which the UI is going to call, or we are going to call from the postman having the APIs. So it's not even controller. So I can't use controller annotation, I can't use service annotation, I can't use repository annotation. So that means the only option left is to go with @component annotation. Okay. So this is how you need to think which annotation is helpful on which particular class. It will be easier for me to directly say use @component, but I'm actually telling you how you need to think. Okay, obviously you are not going to think each and every time something like this. The moment you are going to become pro in Spring Boot, things are going to become by default. Yeah, but initially you may need to think, because many times people have this confusion only. They say that, okay, Abhishek, you know these many things, you have experienced, hence it is easier for you. How do we do all these things? So my always suggestion is, so this is a pro tip. That means that whenever you are learning something new, first of all, whatever the trainer is explaining, write or do the same thing as it is without making any single change. Once you feel that particular part is working fine, you are understanding the things, then you start enhancing your code. Okay, directly if you will jump, then you will obviously, believe me, get confused, and then you can just keep me telling in the comments that, okay, Abhishek, our code is not working, what should we do? So I won't be able to help you directly one by one here. So this is the trick, guys. So this means this is now an aspect class and this is a component. So bean of this class will be created here. Now, the next point is I need to make it as an advice. And in the previous video, I told you, just by writing log before advice or just by giving the method name, it won't become your advice. This is still a method only. So in order to make it as an advice, we will say here at the rate before. Yeah. So now obviously don't say that, okay, is it mandatory that here and here both names should be before? So only this part is mandatory. Here you can give any name, but obviously you won't say log Abhishek advice or log any other advice. Okay, so it should be something fruitful, helpful name which is easier to convey to someone. So I'll say here at the rate before, and again as you can see, so this I have getting from the aspect J, so same particular dependency. So now I'll give these brackets and let's go inside this annotation and see what are the things we are having. So here we are just having two things, arg names, which is again default, we won't go for it, and this is value. So you know that whenever our annotation contains something like parameter value, it is our choice whether we want to mention or don't mention. Okay, but what main thing is that it will contain your point cut expression. So let's start writing the point cut expression. So what I will do is, first of all, I'll give these double inverted commas so that it becomes a string. Then I will say here execution. So this is how it is going to look like, execution. Don't make a spelling mistake here, guys. Yeah. So this is now your execution. And now the only part left is your expression. So as of now, let's simply write it like this, expression. Yeah. So this is the expression which we need to write here. Now this comes to us that, okay, before which particular method I want to call. So you can call it before any service method also, repository method also, controller method also, wherever you wish. Currently, my requirement is that I want to call it only before the find owner method. You will say, Abhishek, why not modify owner ID? Or why not a method of repository? Because guys, I'm just giving you example. Okay. Once you are clear with this, then that is up to you. You can enhance the logic. Yeah. So as of now, we will just play with this find owner method only because it can do everything. It is going to, let's say, invoked, then it will return you something. It can even throw the exception. So each and everything will be tested with this particular one. So what was the expression? I'll just try to paste somewhere here on the below. So with that, you can check. So as per the expression, the first thing is we need to provide the access modifier. So access modifier is public. So that is correct. So let's just type here as public. Then the next thing is we need to give some space and then comes the return type. So the return type is string. So here also you see in the signature we are having space. So we'll just copy this string from here and we will paste it here. Okay, it is copied everything. Let me just copy only this particular string. So I've copied and I'm pasting it out. Okay, I made a mistake. So this is how the things are going to work. Sometime guys, you can make mistake. Okay, so we have again return execution here, and let me again do the things. So first one was access modifier and then it is the return type. So let me copy both of them and paste here. So that also I have done. Then the next thing was the method name. But one option is, can I simply copy this method name here like this? So copy and paste it out. Yeah. So this is the method name. And the next one is argument. So currently this is not accepting any argument. So I'll just leave it as blank like this. But is it enough? The answer is no. Because currently it doesn't knows that where is this find owner method. Is it a part of your repository class, service class? There may be multiple methods by the same name or in some other package. So the main thing is that we need to give the complete name here, and the complete name is the class name. So I'll copy this and paste it just before the method name. And now this class also can appear at multiple places. So what I'll do is I'll go here and copy the package name. So I'll copy this and just bring it just before the class name. Now it is going to look like this. So you can see execution, then we have public, we have string, then we have this particular complete package name, class name, find owner, and it is empty because currently it is not accepting any arguments. Yeah. So this is how this one will look like. So let me just save it. And now let's execute the same code again. So I'll go here on demo 14. Let me execute. Now you see that again this has started, and if I just scroll here, so currently no profile is set. Now it has started, and let's see what it does. So once it has created the things, now the next thing which it will do is, let me just go to this demo, that it is going to invoke first of all your find owner method. So before invoking the find owner method, because in find owner what it is basically doing, it is going to find owner, then this one will be invoked, and within this it is going to print you this statement found owner with owner ID 100. But before invoking that, what it does is the moment it enters here, it sees that okay, there is a point cut expression which I need to execute first of all. Now since that is the point cut expression, so it prints entered something like this, then it says it is a string. So this is the complete signature. See, I have mentioned here signature. This is the benefit. So it entered string, which is the return type, and in the signature it will print the complete name for this. Then it will say owner service IMPL and find owner. So complete thing is printed. So don't feel that since I have written the same thing here, that's why only it is printing, because I'm saying here it is signature, hence it is coming. Then it will say with arguments as empty. Now why it is just saying this empty box? Because for this we were not having any kind of argument. This was empty. If I would have done the same thing for the repository, then it would have obviously printed the arguments also. Yeah. So that you can check. Then it is done. So it will say found owner with owner ID 100, and that's it. Now again, if you will do it same time, so let's say let's do it for 11. So let's see now what it will do. So again, instead of directly throwing the error, first it directly showing you entered string and then the same thing find owner. So this is how it is going to work, and here also you can check this is coming from the log aspect class. So that is the magic, guys, that aspect is going to come automatically, and the things are simple. Now you just know what is required. We just need to change this advice, that's it. So the next one is log after advice. So let's do the same, but instead of typing every time, what I'll do is I'll just copy from this and I'll paste it out here. So let me simply paste it, and here let me say @ after. So we will do them one by one. Also you see that till the point I don't mention, it is not going to come automatically. So all others are not getting printed because they are not the advice currently. Yeah. So if I show you this after, so here also you see this is simple, nothing much. And let me just execute it again. So now as you can see, we are getting the previous thing also, that it entered string, and this particular one, this is the before log. Yeah, because of these only you need to understand, otherwise you can log accordingly before after that. Then once it has completed, then it is saying completed string and then this particular thing. So this line will be printed completed, and here we are only printing the signature, that this is your signature find owner. Okay, so this is the point here, guys. Now you will say that okay, Abhishek, it is printing this find owner afterwards. Why is it so? I mean, because as per the rule, first of all this before should be printed, then the main logic should be executed, at the end it should say completed. Yeah, obviously. Let's see why this happened. So for this we need to go to this particular one demo. So if you see what we are doing, I'm first of all saying here find owner. So when I say find owner, it will go inside this particular service. Now when it entered here, so just try to assume between this line number 27, 28, control is there. So it printed entered and something, because of the log before. Then it invoked the repository method. So it went here in this particular place. Here, since it was even, so that particular format was returned. So a string was just returned. There is no print statement in this method. Now since it is getting returned from here, so log control came here, and from here also it is returning. Now here it is only returning. You are not printing or logging anything here. Yeah. And your logic was that the moment this method ends, then you need to say completed. So this completed, that means that your method is already ended. Yeah. So your method is ended and you have returned something. Now this is not your responsibility that later on what happens with it. Yeah. So that's why you see this particular thing is getting logged on at the end, found owner with owner ID 100. Yeah. This may be bit confusing sometimes, but this is how the things are working, because here you are returning. So it has returned, method has ended, and hence it will say the method has completed. After will come into the picture. Yeah. So this is how it is going to work. I hope that's clear. And let's see whether this will work for the error also. So I'll say 11. So this time for 11, let's see what happens. So again, first of all, it says entered, the same thing. Then it says completed, the same thing. Because again, what happened? From there, some exception occurred. That exception was thrown from here. Now, once it is thrown from here, actually this method has ended. Now it is not the responsibility of the aspect to check what will happen after this. Okay. So that's why it will again print completed first, and then it will go to your demo. There it will see what needs to be done with this particular exception. Yeah. Whether it will be printed or not. So that's a separate kind of scenario. So now I hope that is clear, and let's proceed with the next part, guys. Yeah. So now you see that this after was getting printed in both the cases, or I can say this was getting logged in both the cases. Now I want that it should happen only for the after returning, only if it returns something successfully. So hence I will use something like this string. So join point was always there, and then here you can make usage of string. Now you will say, why string only? Why nothing else? Because if you see, your method is basically returning a string. So this method is returning a string, hence you are saying string. Yeah. So then you will say, Abhishek, what if we have written an expression, and as per that expression it can return string also, int also, then what we should write here? So then you can write the parent of all the data types, and I hope you remember the parent of everything is object. So in that case you can just simply say here object. Yeah. Otherwise this is how the things are going to work here, guys. So we will say after, and here we will say after returning. So this is how it is going to work, and let me just save it. Now let's go inside this after returning. So here you see we can just simply say value. So even this will work fine. So currently you see this one is still working fine. It is not showing you any kind of error. Yeah. But the point is that here we want to return also something. So that means we need to write both these things. So first of all, we will copy this point cut, and we will come back to this particular one and say here point cut and then equals to. So this is your point cut, guys. And then we will again go back here and we will copy the returning. So here we will just again paste this particular one comma and paste it here. And then we will say that whatever it is returning, we will track it in this particular variable result. So in this particular variable result, we are going to track. Now whether it's a string, whether it's a integer or any data type, here it needs to be a string only. Okay. So here the variable name you need to write within double inverted commas. Then here you can make it a string, or if you want to make it more general, you can just call it as object, and then it is your choice how you want to log the things. Now let's see the same thing again. So how you will differentiate with after? Currently we are not printing anything like result, and here we will printing result. Let's see what it will do now. So let me just execute it again. Now if you wish that okay things are getting repeated or it is little slow, you feel free to fast forward it at 2x, because here this thing only we needs to do. So anywhere if you feel I'm little slow, just fast forward, because you have that option. Yeah. So now you see what happened. So first of all it said entered, before advice came into the picture. Then it is saying this completed string, and if I just scroll, so first of all it is printing you with the result. So it says here with result as, and in the result you are getting the complete string message, found owner with owner ID 100. So complete string message is coming up to you here. Yep. So after returning is complete coming into the picture, and then this after is coming into the picture. Yeah. So this is how the things are going to work here. Now let's see what will happen if there is an exception. So what do you think? Now when I will say 11, then also all three of them are going to be executed, or how many will be executed? Pause and comment. Okay. Whether it will print before, after returning all, or only few of them. Let's see. So for 11 here, if I go, so you see it says entered, which means before is working. Then it says completed, and with completed it is not showing you any kind of result, which means after is getting executed in both the scenarios, whether it is working fine without any exception or whether it is throwing the exception. But after returning will only work when there is no exception. Yeah. So this is how the things are going to work here, guys, and I hope that is right also, because that was accepted. Yeah. So let's move on with the next part. So let me just copy this again and paste on this particular one. So here we go. Now this next one is log after throwing advice. Now since this time it is throwing advice, here I have mentioned as exception, because this exception is parent of all the exceptions. And now if you wish, you can print the complete exception stack trace also, or if you wish, you can just print the message also. Yeah. I'm again and again saying print, but here I mean to say log. This is your choice, what you want to do here. Yeah. So here let me say throwing, something like this. So here I have mentioned throwing. Let me say Control Shift O. Now let me close this one and let's go inside this throwing. So inside throwing, if we go, you see here again we are getting this point cut, which we are already having, and this time the argument is throwing. So here we don't have returning, it is throwing. So we'll go back here, because currently if you will save, then it is going to give you the error, because here we don't have anything like returning. So here it is throwing. Under throwing, now I always say this name and this name needs to be same. So if you will have a mismatch here, then this is not going to work fine. It will simply ignore this advice. Okay. So they needs to be same here. So let me just write it here as exception, like this. So now this is the exception, and now let's again see the magic. So we will come here and let me just execute. So on starting, you see for the first one, it says entered before advice, then it says completed, and with this completed it is showing you the message also, which means it is after returning, and then it is simple completed, which means it is after. So for the success scenario, throwing is not working. Yeah. Now when I will say 11, so again if I just scroll it up, so here what it does is that here it says entered before advice, then it says completed string, and here it is showing you the exception, because for exception we are only printing the message here. Yeah. And here also, if you wish, that here we have, since it was an exception, so we logged it on the error level. This is your choice on which level you want to log. So it is showing you as an error, and then it was showing you as the after. So for exception, only after throw will work. For simple, after return will work. After will work in both the scenarios, and before will always work. I mean, before has nothing to do with the return type. Yeah. Now, last but not the least. So till now you have seen that currently for before there was something, for after there was something. But many times what happens is that you don't want two advices. You say, Abhishek, I want a single advice only. I want to log something before the method and something after the method, just with a single advice. And in the last video, I have told you there is no secret. The name of that advice is @around. So what we will do is, let me just copy this here and paste it on this particular one. Let me call here as around. So this is the one, guys, not round, it is around. I mean, that's interesting. So around is also around. Okay. So in around here, we just have two things. We don't have anything like returning or throwing in this particular part, because we don't need basically here. There is a separate way of handling that. So when you say around, you just mention the same expression, something like this. Now here, you see this is an interesting method. Here, now I want to tell what many things needs to be printed or logged before the actual method. So I can write it like this, logging. So I'm just printing the signature. If you wish, you can even print more things also, like, okay, what came in the input and all those things also you can print. So just to make it little different, I'm writing like this. Otherwise you will get confused whether the normal ones are working or this is working. Then I'm saying before proceeding. So this particular part before. Now after this, I want my actual method to be executed. So that's why we are just saying proceed, because you want your actual method to be executed. Now that will be executed. Once it has done, the result will be saved in the object. So this time result will be saved here. Then this line will be logged, and then the result will be thrown out of the advice. So whosoever has actually called that method, like in our case demo, so the result will be thrown there. Let's see how this will work. Yeah. Or as of now, just to make it little simpler for you, what I can do is I can comment other things. I hope that is fine, so that you can understand this easily. Yeah. So let me just do it like this and say here 14 again. Otherwise, if you wish, you can execute all of them together also. Yeah. So now when we do this, let's see how it will work. So first of all, it says in around advice. So this line got logged, and there it says this is the signature name, something like this. Then it says before proceeding part of the around advice, this line got logged. Then what it did was it called the actual method, find owner. Now within that actual method, what it did, it called your repository. From there it returned. Now whatever was returned, that will be saved in this particular object. Yeah. Now that method is ended. So your find owner method is ended here. That's why this line was printed. And then the return type was again sent back to the demo with the help of this object. That's why here we are writing it as object, because it's the parent. So this found owner got printed. Now if you say what if it throws the exception, so that's why here we are saying throws throwable also. So if you wish, it can throw some exception also. So for 11 also, this will work fine. Yeah. So it can work in both the scenarios. So in around advice before proceeding, and here you see it says can't find owner with owner ID 11. So in that case, it is going to work like this. So that has been printed here, guys. And you see that when it is throwing the exception, now this time this after part is not getting printed. Why this after part is not getting printed? Because try to understand. Here we called the actual method. Since we called the actual method, then what happened? Then it called the service method. From there it called the repository method, exception came. Now that exception was caught here. Now since exception came here, now after this, now since there is some exception, it can't proceed with the next line. So one option is that here you make something like try and catch. If you say no, I want to print this line always. So then you say try and catch, finally something like that. Then only you can print. Otherwise, if exception will come from here only, it will go away. If you want exception also to be logged perfectly, you need to go for after throwing only. Okay. So this is how the things are going to work for you guys. So I hope this one is fine here. So let me remove these comments, and now we have all these things in front of us. So this is how the thing was working. Now, another thing is that if you remember, I mean the main part is over, guys. Yeah. So if you wish, you can just take a small pause here, and just some small thing is left. Now the next thing is that I feel that, okay, since this public is always available, like always it is public only, and you know that by default also it is public only. So what I'll do is I will remove this public. Okay. Now if you say I want to remove this public, which means you need to remove it from all these expressions. Currently I'm having 5 expressions. Okay. So see, I need to do the same task 5 times. I need to remove it from here, 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 and here. Yeah. And that is the actual requirement. So in the real-time project, it can come that, okay, you need to change some expression, you need to modify it somehow, or the same thing which you are using in multiple places, you need to make changes on all the places. So that means it is going to become little difficult for me to do the same thing again and again, because same thing I need to do now 5 times. So I will remove from here, then I will go, I will remove from here, I will go, then I will remove from here. Yeah. So that is a pain. Agree or not that it is going to difficult for me, because here I'm just asking you to remove. Another thing which I can ask you is that instead of making it for the empty, make it for all kind of arguments. Then in that case we need to make here as double dot. Then I can tell you that okay, instead of making it only for the return type string, make it for all the return types. Then you need to make here star. But same change you need to repeat 5 times. So try to understand the problem statement here, that we are doing the repetition here for the expression. Isn't it beneficial that we can just make some kind of variable on the top, something like this, that expression, and here let's say that we are having this as string. So I will just write it like this. So expression, and here we will say a string. Or why only this? I mean, even this part is getting repeated, execution word. So what if I'll remove it from here, I'll paste it here. Yeah. So like this, guys. Yeah. And here let me just make it as a string. Getting my point? What I have done, I have made it as a variable on the top. So this is how it is going to now look like. So everywhere let me just do it like this. So expression, and here also let me just change. So here only this part will be changed, guys. Okay, not the complete thing. So expression, and here also let me just change the main part only, which is your expression. And here in this last one also, what I'll do is I will change it to this expression. So instead of mentioning the thing here, I mentioned it on top only. But the point is here this will not work, because whenever there is something like before annotation, then these things won't work fine. Okay, you can't write it like this. Then what is the solution? How we can make it more general, so that like a variable kind of thing. Okay, so for this there is a simple solution, and that simple solution is that instead of making it as a variable like this, what we can do is we can consider it as a point cut. So remember, till now we were calling it as point cut expression only. So there is another annotation which we call as point cut, which will also come from your aspect J. I didn't mention it in the previous video because of this reason only, because at that point of time you were not having this kind of issue. Okay, so here in this point cut I will mention. Yeah, so here also let me do it like this. So this is my point cut. Yeah, so this is how it is going to look like. But again, the problem is how we will call this point cut. I mean, how can we say this point cut needs to be used here? So for this, what I will do is I will make a method here. So I will say here public, let me just write it like this. So I will say here public, and I will say here void, and see, except your at the rate around, all of them are going to be void in nature, because there is no benefit of returning. I mean, what will you return from this log before advice, guys? Okay, that is of no use. And here let's call it as, I mean, since it is for find owner, so what I'll do is here I will say find owner, something like this, find owner, and let me call it as expression. So it is find owner expression, something like this, an empty method I have created. So now on this method find owner expression, I have added this particular point cut. Now I'll copy this complete thing and I'll replace this. Okay, so here I will say double inverted commas, and here I will write it like this. So within double inverted commas you need to write, you can't write it directly. Okay, so that's the trick here. So this is how it is going to look like, and you see for this now it will work fine. After point cut there is a string, and here also let's do the same. So this one, and here also let's do the same. So this is how it is going to look like. Now you see this is more better, guys. Okay, so now if you will ask me that okay, remove something from here. Okay, next you say make it as star for any return type. I will say next. Then you will say that okay, make it for any kind of input type. So I will say double dot next. So now whatever you will ask me, I will do it. Okay, so this way if required you can make multiple expressions also, or whatever the way you want, you can do the things here, guys. Okay, so this is how your things are going to work fine. If you say no, I want to do the same thing for multiple methods, or if there are different kind of methods starting with the word find, so you can do it like this also. That I guess we have already discussed in the previous video, what are the various ways of creating your expressions. Okay, that's why previous video is important. And now I hope you know the how the things are going to work fine. This time let's re-execute with all the things in the picture. So you see, first of all, when everything is there in the picture, first of all, in around advice, so your around advice will be given more preference. So these two lines are from the around advice. Then this line is from the before advice. Then this particular line is from your, I guess, after returning advice. Then this line is from your after advice. Then this line is again from your around advice. Okay. And now if I say 11 here, so let's do this also. So let's verify this quickly. So first of all, this one from the around advice, this is from the before advice, this one, okay, both of them from the around advice, this one from the before advice, this one I guess it is from the after throwing advice, then next one is from the after advice. So after advice got executed in both the scenarios. See the magic. Okay. And since in the around advice it threw the exception, hence the last line of the around advice won't get printed here. Okay, so this is how the things are going to work. I hope now you are an expert with the aspect oriented programming. If you find it helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe the channel and keep sharing it with your friends. Hope to see you in the next video. Bye everyone.